the glass was very obvious. When they blew something, they looked at it. So when you think of the blowers working and the gatherers, the blowers were very particular about the work and everyone was examined. That's one thing about the glass industry. Almost every piece of glass was examined, which shows how keen they were on the product they were making. The roll plate, every sheet of roll plate was examined, and it, it proves that they were very careful about the glass they produced and very particular about it.
Mm. In terms of the things that you did in your working career, because you worked there until what year?
1976.
So that is a total of um, 30, 30 years?
28 years.
28 years. Um, in that 28-year span, which is quite a long time, is to be in one place, isn't it?
Yes.
What was your um, what were your strongest memories of the work that you did?
Strongest memories were building the flat glass engineering workshop and taking on the management of it, because I eventually wound up as chief engineer. I started as assistant to the divisional engineer, then divisional engineer, then chief engineer, and built up the flat glass engineering department from pretty well scratch. And there were 60 fitters and turners who worked for me in the maintenance department. And that's probably the biggest maintenance department in the Midlands. But we used to make stuff for all over the world. We made a tremendous amount for India, glass rolling machines and that. Because obviously you can't just buy a glass rolling machine. All the glass making facilities have to be made special. But the biggest memory is the building up of the flat glass department. And it was quite a thing. And we proved to be so efficient that when the Pilkington directors came and had a look at the automatic handling of the glass, they wanted one too. And I had to design one for them in St. Helens, which proved to be quite popular. And it was working last time I went to St. Helens, which was a long time ago.
Yeah, yeah. Do you remember the Foghorn subdivision?
I remember the foghorns. I don't know where they came from and that, but they used to test them at Chance's and I could hear them all over the district, the foghorns going. But I'm not sure whether we bought them in. I think we probably did, but we supplied them to people that required them, of course.
So they weren't made on site, you don't think?
I don't think they were made on site.
Right.
I never saw them, and I got round most of the works.
Mm. When you were working there, did you think that you would be there for the whole of your working life?
Oh, definitely, it was a lifetime job. Sometimes there'd be as many as 3 generations from one family there. And it was a life's work once you got to Chances, and they promoted from within. They didn't recruit outside to get promotion. they actually promoted from within, and most of the foremen and charge hands and all those sort of people and managers were all employed on the shop floor before they got the management job.
Mm.
So it was good. It's a great place to remember is Chance Brothers. As I say, it was a way of life, and it was a good place to be. And you thought you were there for life until Pilkingtons took us over and sold us out.
Mm. So maybe we could talk a little bit about that finding phase when you were working there. What was that like?
We we knew 6 months ahead that we were shutting, so we knew in plenty of time, and it was a bit miserable. Uh, I think we all hoped there'd be a reprieve, but there wasn't. The date came in the April of '76 when we shut, and it was a terrible place to be. I spent the last 6 months of my career with Chance Brothers alone in the works. I was the only person in the works. They wanted me to go to St. Helens to be an engineer there, and I didn't want to move. So they kept me on uh, as an employee in an empty works or a works that wasn't producing anything. And consequently, it became more and more depressing. I shed tears at times, because it was very, very depressing walking around a works that you spent a good many years building up into what it was. And I had built it up tremendously. I'd done the automatic handling from men carrying off glass, big sheets of glass, and putting them in cases, to an automated system that cut the glass and loaded it into crates or piled it in a stack. It does anything, but nobody touched it. And when you see this stationery, it isn't right, and it is very upsetting. So my last 6 months were upsetting. Finally, they got the message that I wasn't going to St. Helens to work, and they let me go.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, it does sound pretty traumatic. Indeed. Um, so just talking a little bit more about the aspects of it we haven't covered when it was still thriving. Did they used to use when you worked there? Was the railway still functional? Was that draft?
All the railways were still functional. I came in like that under a 90-foot high telfer that used to unload the broken glass, which is called cullet. I unloaded the broken glass uh, with the telfer into trucks that could be moved around the site to wherever it was needed. And the canals were also used for partly, but the canal transport dropped off, I'm afraid, in towards the end. But the the railways were used right up till the end.
So they used the canals. I guess they would definitely use it in the 40s and 50s.
We'd got basins in there, and above the basin was the telfer, which was the overhead crane, which was 90 foot high with a massive grab that held about 4 tons of glass, and that would be dropped into the narrowboats and picking up whatever they got in, whether it was coal or whatever.
And did they use it for putting out products as well? Did they move products by rail and canal?
No, we didn't. It was all road.
Yeah.
It was all road.
Mm. Thinking about the wider Chance's legacy, what for you are the things that we should remember Chance and Chance Brothers for? So, including the time you worked there, but also before and now as well, how we think about it.
Yes, I think about Chances as being a company that cared, and that I treasure. In as much as you knew they wouldn't let you down if they could help it, and whatever you did, okay, you could get into trouble the same as you could at any job, but they cared for you and they would look after you 24 hours a day if necessary. And that's a thing that I treasure from Chances. The other things I've already said, it was a way of life, and it should be remembered for the fact that it was a social area. It wasn't just a works, it was a social area, and it partook 7 days a week, and it was worth thinking about, and it's a shame that it should be lost because I don't think there's any firms who go to the extent that Chances went to look after its employees. And for that reason, I think the place should be remembered.
Oh, oh. And before you worked there, going back into the early part of the last century and beyond, it was well known, wasn't it, for its charitable works, in terms of the work it did in the community as well.
The Chance Brothers was at one stage the biggest glassworks in the country, and it was known all over the world. We produced glass for all over the world, and we also, when I was there, we produced glass making machinery for all over the world. So we were known, people relied on us. They come from Australia, India, all sorts of countries, Canada, and we made stuff for them to use in their own country. Um, and the glass we made, Fiesta, is a well known glass because it's in the house, it's in the kitchen, it's on the dining table, and we're known for that. But that was a very small part of the company, but it was part of the company, and it was products that went all over the households.
Mm, mm. Why do you think now we should? Why do you think it's important that we should remember Chances and what it made, and why do you think it's important?
There tends to be a, a feeling of we're not doing anything, we're not going anywhere, we're not getting anywhere, and that jobs are just a job. It's important that that wasn't Chances. Chances wasn't just a job, as I've said, it was a way of life. And I think it's important that the place is remembered because it's a shame we're dying out. We're all getting old, I'm afraid, who work there. But nevertheless, we still remember it and want to be remembered. And we want the place to be remembered as a place where once upon a time an international firm was there and that it leaves a memory behind of good workmanship, good products and everything else and a good living.
Mm, mm. So the site that remains with the 7-story building and some of those buildings alongside that are there, the plan is to continue to try and raise the funds to develop that for as a community resource, which I think you know quite a bit about.
Yes.
What's your feelings about that?
You've touched on a point. 7-story, I feel, is the one building remaining, but I feel it's unsuitable for many things, and making that work for the society is going to be one hell of a job. The In between the floor and the ceilings, in there's bits of straw, and it is a terrible fire risk because the building is totally wood, and at one place the ceiling is quite low as well. So it'll be nice if the 7-story can be used and brought into use. It will be a good thing, but it's going to be one heck of a job doing and will cost an awful lot of money because of the nature of the building.
Would you like to see that site reinvigorated in direct connection to Chance's legacy yourself?
Yes, I would. I'd like to see the site with, especially from the museum side, showing the things that we did. For instance, I think roll plate was the biggest part of the works there. I think roll plate should be represented. I know they're planning a lighthouse, but um, the glass producing side of things is what the work is all about, really.
Yeah, yeah. Although the lighthouse is also, it's quite symbolic, isn't it?
The lighthouse is symbolic. It's it's an important part, and it was a very big part, and it was precise engineering. There's no doubt about it. And it's good that it should be remembered. But it wasn't the main part of the works. The main part of the works by far was glass. And obviously, the glass has got to be remembered.
Absolutely. Is there anything else about your time at Chances and your perspective on Chances you think we hadn't talked about you'd like to say?
Um, Not really. I think we've covered most of it. I I was a very keen employee, and obviously I got on from an apprentice draftsman. I became a draftsman, a senior draftsman, and then I got promoted to an engineer as deputy engineer to the flat glass divisional engineer, and then I became flat glass divisional engineer, and finally chief engineer. My process through the works was was quite good, really, and I'm the last one to complain about it. So, but generally speaking, I had a good time at Chances, and I feel my work that I did was reward in itself looking at it when you realise what you did. Um, and I developed the automatic handling from hand carrying off to totally automatic where nobody touched any glass. Was quite a feat. when you think that the glass come down at 300 inches a minute, it could be 5 foot wide, it could be 10 foot long, and there's only 1/8. It's quite a delicate piece of stuff to handle.
Yeah.
And my work on the end of the layers, I always was very proud of, very proud indeed.
Mm. Mm. Would you say that's been the most important part of your working career?
Yes, definitely.
Mm. And that includes the work you did after Chances as well.
All the work after Chances. I was very naive at Chances. I thought everybody dealt honestly and straightforwardly and looked after you. But I discovered after that not everybody was honest from the start. And I did get employed in one very questionable firm, which I gave my notice in after 15 months. But now, not everybody, nobody was up to Chance's standard, nowhere near. The health service was probably the closest to it in some respects, but that's gone downhill with the years I was there.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you were to say there's a couple of lessons to be learned from how Chances did things that we could apply to today, what would they be?
When Chances sent me away to college for a degree in management, and one of the things that I talked about was father type management being bad. And it was father type management Chances used, and it was good. In other words, they looked after you. They minded what you did and what you didn't do. And they were interested, and they were interested outside working hours as well. And this I saw as a sort of father image looking after you. And I thought when I was on at college, I thought that sounds as if it's bad, but it's not. It's, to my mind, it was the best sort there could be, providing you got the right father, I suppose.
Yeah. So there was that. Anything else?
No, not really. I'm quite happy with that.
Fantastic.
So it sounded like it was a very like a family, really. It's the nature of the family business, the way it started, and then that whole encompassing warm feeling you got from working there.
Yeah, it was a family. Everybody says it was a family employer like that. It was like being in a family. When you went into Chances, you went in like as if it were a family. You're part of it, and you're part of it for 24 hours a day.